Hey there, guys! This is Rittleot.
And this is Ginger of Red, coming at you from Red.
And we here at Downright Start are still riding high on our post-E3 euphoria, more or less.
Yes, so we're compiling a video where Rittleot and I are going to discuss the highs and lows of this year's E3.
Starting off with Bethesda.
Yes, Bethesda for the win. So, first thing to go off right the bat on one of E3's greatest conferences yet, in my opinion, is starting right off the bat with the new Doom. Any thoughts, Rittleot?
Well, I guess what I want to say regarding Doom is it is your, from what I've seen, it is your run-of-the-mill shooter. Maybe run-of-the-mill isn't the right term to use, but it is a shooter, and we have lots of shooters. And what I saw was good. It's graphically beautiful. It's, you know, it's gory, but for a game like Doom, it needs to be. So that's not even really an issue. You cannot say, well, it's too gory. No, for what it's trying to be and for what it's trying to do, Doom needs to have that gore factor. The executions, there were well, your character could perform executions on enemies. Those were gruesomely awesome.
Yes.
And
very gruesome.
Being able to snap an enemy's leg and then smash his head into the ground feels so satisfying for being what you are, this marine who is trapped in with all these demons from hell. So you have to be able to, you know, destroy these enemies. And if that means snapping an enemy's jaw, so be it. Or blasting them entirely with... Oh, wow. So, in the demo, you pick up a double-barreled shotgun, a classic weapon. And...
Of course.
When you use it, you see the effects. Like, you literally blow holes into your enemies. And it just feels so visceral that the visceral aspect works. And with that being said, you know, I think I can look forward to a lot in Doom. One aspect that I really like that they showcased, and I know you have thoughts on this too, Ginger, was the ability, the system that they're going to be putting in place to create player content that allows players to make content.
Right. What they call it? DoomNet or...
I don't remember, really.
But yes, I do know what you were talking about.
You know, it allows players to... Yeah, no, it allows players to make maps and make game modes.
It rivaled Halo's Forge mode.
Or, I wouldn't say it rivals, because I think there are some... It might be a little bit finer tuned than that. I wouldn't be surprised if it was. Not to say that Halo's Forge mode isn't. The Halo Forge mode was really more geared towards making maps, as opposed to what this is trying to do, where you can make game modes and maps at the same time. I would say it's a lot more finer tuned, but it is reminiscent. I mean, I would use that as a frame of reference, personally, because I've never done anything outside of other than Minecraft. But I mean, I guess now we're just comparing apples to apples and peaches to peaches at this point. So anyway, that does look cool. Doom does look cool. I can say that much. It does look cool.
And there's only like one complaint that I would probably have about Doom, like now that I look at it, like is there's not really much color to it. I mean, like, I know that's strange to say for a Doom game, but if you actually look back in previous Doom games, they're actually very colorful, and the gameplay demo that they showed really wasn't all that colorful. I mean, the one moment when they were in hell and the one guy with the double green laser pistol showed up, that was the most colorful point in the trailer. But I mean, other than that, it was just kind of a bleak bleak, dark colors. I mean, it fit the atmosphere, yes, but I mean, compared to previous titles, it just kind of lacked there. That's like the only complaint I would have.
Well, I think going with the aesthetic they're going for, I think it works. Honestly, because they're going for this gritty environment. At least it wasn't as dark as, say, Doom 3. And I haven't played Doom 3, but what I do know from it is that the environments within Doom 3 were just really dark. This was well lit. It looks like it was well lit. And what I also want to bring up before we move on to another game that we saw in the conference, or to another point in the conference, is that these guys, you didn't get to see much story within the trailer, but this is being made by Bethesda, and Bethesda did do the recent remake of Wolfenstein, which had an incredibly moving story, which engaged the player throughout the entire thing, despite it being kind of your cut and paste shooter. I mean, maybe not. Again, I use that word, and it's not entirely true, because in Wolfenstein was just fun. It was just so much fun. Being able to play as Blazkowicz and hold double, being able to wield 2 assault rifles at the same time. You don't see many characters who can do that. He's wielding 2 assault rifles, or he can wield 2 snipers. I mean, it's just so cool. But I have that much to look forward to. I feel like Bethesda will do something good with Doom in regards to its story.
Yeah, Wolfenstein was really good. Like, I've played a little bit of it, not the whole thing, but enough to realize that it's not your run-of-the-mill shooter. Like, they had their own, like, unique aspects to it, and that's what makes most first-person shooters great, instead of rehashing the same thing over and over and over.
Yeah, rehashing same other mechanics. So, shall we move on to the next part in the conference? Wasn't it Elder Scrolls Online?
Yes. Tamriel Unlimited, now they call it.
Oh yeah, isn't that because it's coming out onto... Yeah, it's because it's coming out onto consoles, correct?
Yes, and correct me if I'm wrong, are they, like, changing the payout way?
Honestly,
I heard a rumor
sure.
that they were...
I think it might be changing for consoles.
Okay, for consoles, like, I heard a rumor that they were possibly going the way of Guild Wars 2, where it's like, pay it once and you have it. I don't really believe that rumor, but I have heard the rumor.
I mean, if it happened, I might be interested in buying it. If they're doing that for the console, I mean, I guess that I just need to do a little bit of research on that. But I've never really been interested in Elder Scrolls Online from what I've seen. So when they brought it into the conference, I was just really, my base emotion was meh.
Yeah, same here.
Just a serious lack of interest. Though what they did showcase was cool in regards to the Imperial City and Orzammar. So, hey, that looked cool. With what I saw, their 2 introductions, being the Imperial City. I didn't know you couldn't even go into the Imperial City, so this shows you my lack of knowledge regarding the game. But it did look cool, especially as it's a kind of a throwback to Oblivion, as the game takes place in the Imperial City, or mostly in Cyrodiil. And
right. And
then or how do I say the name? I just said it.
Orzammar?
Orzammar, yes, orcs. Orcs are cool. And what they showcased next? Was it Battlecry?
I believe they went into discussion about Elder Scrolls Legends first.
Oh, you're right. And what are your thoughts on it?
At first I was just meh, but then being a fan of Hearthstone and the concept of Legends seems very similar to that. And at first I didn't think much of Hearthstone until I actually got to play it because it was free, and when I started playing it, it was actually really fun. So if Legends plans on going a similar route, then I would highly consider playing it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the vibe I got too, was it was just Hearthstone. So unless they bring something new to the table, they might just get overrun by Hearthstone, unless they plan on running solely off of their name, being an Elder Scrolls game. Which, you know, you have two fantasy universes clashing. So Hearthstone wasn't really solely just running off of its name. It was a new idea being brought to the table too. An online card game that is free to play. And, you know, Hearthstone kind of started that, if I'm not mistaken.
And it's very easy to learn, and like as a beginner, you can learn how to play that game very easily. I would say it's a easier version of Magic of the Gathering, if you've ever played that card game. Like I actually played Hearthstone before I ever played a game of Magic, and they are very similar, but like Hearthstone's a kind of, I don't want to say dumbed down version, but like a very simpler way to play.
I've only heard of Magic from friends, and talk about Magic from friends. I actually have a Magic deck that I've never used, which is fun. It's just sitting there. I've meant to use it, never got around to using it. So yeah, Hearthstone's the only kind of card game similar to Magic that I've ever really played. Maybe Yu-Gi-Oh, but not really. So if I'm not mistaken, the next part of the conference was TF2 with swords.
Battle Cry, yes.
Yes. I mean, it is basically TF2 with swords.
Yeah, I can totally agree with that view as well. It's like, it looks very, even the art style almost mimics that of TF2. Like if you were to put 2 and 2 side by side, you would obviously be able to point out the differences, but you couldn't deny the similarities either.
Yeah. Putting my facetious comments aside, I think there could be some interesting things to do there, because TF2 does use guns, whereas what they're kind of advocating here is, while there are some projectile weaponry in the game, it is primarily getting up close and personal with your opponents. Like the heavy, or the heavy class, I'm not going to call it the heavy class is an individual with a big sword or some big form of weapon. So, you know, it has that going for it. You know, it has a different aesthetic going for it. And who knows, maybe the gameplay can differentiate itself enough from TF2 that it can stand out on its own.
Well, we'll have to see. Personally, I don't have much interest in it, but I mean, it could surprise me. I've been surprised by games before, plenty of times.
I thought it was funny that they introduced a new faction, which was basically the Chinese.
Right.
You have Victorian England, Russia, and the Chinese, and it's just like, interesting. This is interesting. I'll be interested to see what kind of background they give to their characters.
It'd probably be very silly.
And then we have the Green Dragons versus the Red Russians. Oh no, what have we done?
First there was blue, and then there was red, and oh wait, wrong story.
Oops. Were they in a canyon?
Jokes aside, let's move on. So next on Bethesda's lineup was the much-awaited sequel, Dishonored 2.
Which was leaked before the conference even started, which was funny.
Yes, but now that I look back on the image that had been leaked, like, I never saw that image ever come up in the demo or the trailer, now that I think about it.
Yeah, it was leaked in a Twitch call, in a Twitch stream, in a Bethesda Twitch stream, where one of the devs actually just mentioned something off. They were rehearsing for E3 is what they were doing, and then one of them made a comment that kind of just was pointing towards Dishonored 2.
Oh, was it like a mention of Arcane or something like that?
I think it was the Arcane devs. I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and look at the articles before E3, but that's basically how it was leaked. So people kind of had an idea that Dishonored 2 would be mentioned at their E3 conference. But still, that did not detract from the excitement from watching the trailer and seeing the devs get up on stage and actually talking about Dishonored 2.
And then the stuff that they revealed, like story-wise, like we'll be able to play as Emily Caldwin, the little princess from the first game. Innocence lost is can't even get started with those words.
Well, I mean, I'll be interested to see how they integrate what you did, if at all. But I would hope that they would integrate what you did in the first Dishonored into the second. So let's say you went in a totally violent path, and that makes Emily, you know, it reflects upon her, you know, your violence reflects upon her at some point, right? Where in the first game, when you take that violent path, you see, like, every time you walk, or every time you walk into her room and visit her, her drawings that she makes become more violent, and just they reflect your violence. So, you know, you get that bad ending. And would Arcane, would they carry that over? But because if I'm not mistaken, you know, there are endings, and sorry for spoilers, spoiler alert, if you go the violent route, there is an ending where Emily does die. So I would think they wouldn't include that, because obviously Emily's in the game, right? So there would have to be two options, I think. For one, you know, where you're kind, you know, the good ending shows through, and you help Emily grow as a father figure, or you're kind of the dagger in the shadows, and you leave, and then Emily raises up this empire that is kind of ruthless. So, you know, could they have two presets? I'd be curious to see what they do with that.
Well, now that you mention it, like I'll bring up the fact that I learned before that the devs mentioned on stage that you'd be able to play as Emily or Corvo. So in the sense that you don't switch between them, but you end up with one or the other. And in other interviews and stuff, it's been highly emphasized that if you play as Corvo, it's highly assumed that Emily is dead, and if you play Emily, it's highly assumed Corvo is dead.
Really?
Yeah, I can't say that that's confirmed, but it's heavily emphasized that that might be the deal. Because they were saying that you play as either one or the other, not both.
I heard in an interview after the conference, you know, that those two do meet up in the beginning of the story. Yeah. So I would hope that's not the case, because I want to see them interact, you know? I want to see how Emily interacts with Corvo, because you would only get to see that whenever Corvo either saved Emily or visited her after saving her, you know? I want to see them interact with each other, with Emily being an adult.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. Like, I would love to have, like, the in-between mission conversations where, like, you can go up to Corvo and, like, he'll give his, like, thoughts on, like, what you're doing based on how you've been completing your missions. Like, if you're killing people, will Corvo, like, disapprove? And if you choose the more safer routes, does he, like, say, you done good, it's better? Or even better, oh man, this could be so good if they were able to do this. Like you said before, if they were able to, like, change things based on Dishonored 1 choices. Like, what if you had a violent Corvo, but then you played as the non-violent Emily in Dishonored 2? And what if they were...
What are you doing?
And what if there were...
you know, like, what are you doing? This is not what I did.
Yeah, and, like, what if there were conversations where, like, Corvo would be like, these choices you're making, I probably should have made them long ago. And things like that. Like, these are interactions that I would hope for. I'm just saying that these are things that I've just heard. Like, not confirmed whatsoever, but I mean... Yeah, having the interaction between the two would be much preferred.
Yeah, and this is happening 15 years after the first game, is what I've heard. So, you know, you would be playing as a much older Corvo, a much more experienced Corvo, and of course, an adult version of Emily. So again, I'm looking forward to playing as her, and going back and playing as Corvo, especially since Emily's powers given to her by the outsider are totally different from Corvo's.
Yeah, I'd like to wonder, like, what determines what powers you get from the outsider? Is it like what ended up happening to you, or is it based on like your personality? Like, it's just something to consider.
I'd be curious. I would be curious because it looks like she's probably not going to have a blank like Corvo. And that's interesting because, you know, Corvo's blink is awesome. And she, in the trailer, when she was going after a target, she transformed into this beast, like this shadowy beast. So I'm wondering if that is not a reflection of her being as a queen, you know, this overpowering creature.
Yeah, when I saw that part in the trailer, I was really trying to figure out how that would work. Like, she actually does have similar powers to what Corvo had as well, because the time freeze thing, Corvo had that power too, and she was able to use it when she threw the grenade and then shot it out of the air. But yeah, this so you have the grapple thing, which is obviously what you use to get around, but the shadow form, I honestly don't know what the purpose of that would be. Like, did it make her... It didn't make her faster, because she would have just used the grappling for that. So I'm wondering if it was like... If it's some sort of phasing ability. Like, was she able... Because she used it when these walls were supposed to crush her. And I wonder if that ability was actually letting her go through them, although she was going around the walls. I'm just trying to speculate, like, what that would be for.
I think it's more of an offensive ability.
True.
You know, it might just make her an offensive, just a beast, where she can just take things out and maybe take a little bit more damage. Though, you know, it would make it interesting because, you know, Corvo had abilities that you know, you wouldn't want to use if you're going for a stealthy playthrough.
Oh, you're right. That's true.
You wouldn't want to take the ability where you summon a bunch of rats to attack a person.
If you were going the no-kill route. That's very true.
Exactly. It's a wasted skill point. You know, I've only done the good route. I've never gone the bad route. So I never put a point into it because I never needed it. I would max out my blank. I would max out my... I would max out time freeze. I would max out... what else was there? I don't remember his skill set now.
There was the freeze time. There was the air blast, which could work for non-killing if you were careful enough.
I don't remember what else. But yeah, you know, so there were skills that you would take to ensure that you could play the stealthy route. So with that being said, that could just be because she uses to kill him. That's the thing. So it could just be a purely offensive ability used for, you know, taking out enemies.
I had not considered that before.
I'm looking forward to Dishonored 2. I think, you know, again, being able to play as Emily, that's awesome. Especially since I really was invested in making sure she was safe. I cared about her as a character. And that is why I was, you know, that is why kind of I'm going to relate it to playing Walking Dead, Telltale's Walking Dead, you know, Clementine. I was really invested in taking care of Clementine, so I was really invested in taking care of Emily. You know, I wanted to give her the good ending. I wanted to make sure that she got into power and that I would help her become a good queen. I would be her right hand guy to ensure that, you know, she ruled the kingdom not with tyranny. And, you know, and to ensure that, I wanted to go the non-kill route to show that I could get things done without having to resort to violence.
And quite honestly, the non-violence route was, in my opinion at least, a lot more interesting, a lot more fun, because you really had to think
challenging.
Of what you...
It was a lot more difficult as opposed to running around stabbing people and shooting them. Though the stabby shooty route is fun without a doubt, because getting creative with your powers and having to go up with more enemies because you're more violent is interesting. And of course, another thing that I didn't like about it was if you go the violent route, your city gets plagued. Speaking of, real quick, the new plague looks absolutely gross. Ugh, it just gives me shivers thinking about the bugs coming out of that guy's body. That was gross, man. That was really gross.
Yeah, the botfly 5000.
Ew, man, that was gross. It was like, ew, what is that? What is this? Ugh.
I would like to argue whether or not that is actually a plague, because roll with me here for a moment, because there were a lot of things wrong in Dunwall. I mean, yes, there was the rat plague going on, but then there were also like a lot of other different creatures that were just kind of messed up. Like if you went near the water, you had those really nasty fish, but then you had those weird barnacle-like creatures. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah, they were under the bridges and stuff.
Yeah, and like those things were like just around. They weren't part of the plague, so it's like these flies might entirely be a plague. Like, you're probably completely right, but I just like to consider the fact that they didn't put any true emphasis on there being a plague. But I mean, so the flies could just be a thing that you could encounter, but I don't know whether or not to assume right away that it's a new plague.
Or, yeah, some kind of infestation. I don't know. Interesting. Dishonored 2. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, as am I. Next up, but certainly not least, Fallout 4.
Yes! 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 All I have to say, the way it was introduced in the conference, those tricky guys at Bethesda, you know, oh, I think it seems like we're forgetting something. No, you're not forgetting anything. Please, talk about Fallout 4. I think we have everything we need here. Yeah. Fallout 4, we don't know what that game is.
Yeah, that was definitely a moment where Bethesda knew their fans very well when they could just go like, I think we forgot something. Do y'all remember what it was? And the entire crowd just yells, Fallout 4! So yeah, they were just like expecting that.
Yeah, no, I'm beyond hyped for this game. I've been waiting a long time for Fallout 4. I've played so much Fallout 3 and so much Fallout New Vegas, you know, that it's been a long time coming. And from what I saw from the conference, this is going to be a better game than what people could have ever really wanted. And maybe that's an overstatement, but from what I saw, it's amazing. There's so many new things in the game. One major new aspect is just the amount of customization given to the player. It's phenomenal. It's way over our heads. You can establish your own town, which basically just starts off as your own house.
Yeah. That
blows my mind. You know,
and real quick, sorry.
Go ahead.
Real quick, as you're going through with the town, I wonder if like the people who can end up coming into the town, I wonder if they're people who just show up, or if they can be people you've met along the way in like different quests and travels, and you can just invite them. So like, what if you?
Well,
sorry.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was both ways.
Right.
If you know, because one thing that Todd Howard did say on stage is that, you know, Brahmin traders will be passing through your town, you know, your place, as Brahmin traders tend to do. So, and if you don't know what a Brahmin is a two-headed cow. For our people listening. Yeah, mutations, radiations. So, you know, Brahmin traders pass through your place because they obviously see that it's a settled location. You know, that brings in that they can spread the word. But I'd be curious. You know, that is a good point to bring up. Can you invite people? I would think that you could. I really think that you could. I don't know who it's limited to. Maybe could you invite a major NPC? Maybe, probably not. But hey, we don't know yet.
I'd invite Lucas Sims to my place.
I'd invite an entire vault to my place.
Which vault? That's a very important question.
The one where everybody is named Gary.
Oh, Lord.
Though I think they tried to kill me.
Gary!
Gary! I think they tried to kill me.
Really? You think?
Okay. So, and the weapon customization. Wow. Deary me. He's like, hey, you guys want to customize your weapons? And then we get a bunch of weapons and parts flashing onto our screen. It's like, I can't handle this. My body isn't ready for this. So much customization. Do you want this weapon? Yes. Well, you can have this weapon, or this weapon, or this weapon. And it's just like, wow. Wow. I'm customization to the max.
Yeah, I would even argue that this goes beyond weapon customization. Like, when you first think of customizing a weapon, it's like, I'm going to take this pistol and I'm going to give it, like, a bunch of different mods. This, what they're doing in Fallout 4, is like, here's a pistol. I want to make it into a shotgun, and then you just do it with the parts you found.
Here, you just took a 10mm pistol and turned it into a shotgun.
Exactly.
It's a pistol shotgun. That's not how that works. You can't physically do that. I just did. How?
With a globe and a teddy bear. Deal with it.
This doesn't make any sense. Oh,
Here,
man.
take this toy car and make a rocket launcher out of it.
What? So, with going with the customization, one thing I really liked that he discussed on stage was, so you have a lot of things in Fallout, in the world, right? There's just a ton of stuff. Stuff you find now in the Fallout, in the Fallout world, can be used to make things. Like, you can break them down and make new things, as opposed to Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, where you could find a teddy bear and it's just a teddy bear.
Well, it could be ammo if you had the right weapon, but I mean, yeah, that was really all that could be used for.
Or Fallout 3, you find a bottle. I mean, unless it was okay, let me put it this way: unless it was part of a recipe to make an item, like, I don't know, a steam gun, then it would be useless to you. Or you could use it to sell and get more caps. But in this game, in Fallout 4, you can either sell it or break it down to get components you need to make other stuff, which is awesome. That gives the player. I heard this in an interview.
Use your words.
Where blah, 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 blah. In an interview where somebody said, well, with this new aspect, that kind of it gives the player a choice, between selling it and keeping it. Do I want to sell this item, or do I want to break it down to get these parts? And I think that's interesting.
Yeah, the fact that they've literally given everything worth just makes it all the more interesting. So, as you said, like, now you're not just thinking about whether or not, oh, can I use this for anything? Because that question's already been answered.
Yeah. So, again, a whole lot of new possibilities there, and that excites me. A couple more things. The fact that, and I mean, we saw this. No, we didn't see this in the trailer, but we did see it here. Power armor. You, as a person, as a character, literally climbs into the power armor. The power armor feels like armor now, as opposed to just something you can equip from your inventory. It's a physical thing that you climb into. That's crazy. That is so crazy. And it has, like, it looks like it's totally different from, let's say, the clothing that you put on your own body. Because
right.
you have your armor, you can see that your armor conditions from your HUD. And it just feels so futuristic and just so cool. And the fact that it has been, you can see it from the trailer, armor customization, because there was an armor from the trailer that you see that had jetpacks on it, and
yes.
I was just like, yes, so much yes, so much yes. I want it now, and I'm just excited. I'm beyond excited for Fallout 4. I want it now.
Yeah, and that brings like a whole new thing to combat as well, because now that it's a physical thing, this isn't something that you can carry around anymore. Like, you would probably have to plan like where to bring it and where to place it, or if you're just gonna have it on. And then, and this is what I'm most excited about, is how would you have to fight if you ended up running into someone else with a power armor that could do all of these things, that could take down the Deathclaw with a minigun as you saw in the trailer, or a power armor that had a jetpack like the one shown. Like, what if you ran into one of those and had to fight it?
Well, I mean, you do have the Brotherhood of Steel, so there's that. And there's one more important thing, and this kind of will answer your question. Or not maybe answer it, but kind of add a bit more depth to your question. But, you could summon a vertibird.
Yes, that was shown.
So, I'm wondering if you can't have your vertibird bring you power armor. Hey, I need my suit here right now. I'm getting surrounded by Deathclaws. Bring over the power suit. Over. Yeah, bringing it over now.
Jarvis, send me my suit.
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely an idea.
I mean, you could blow up a vertibird. How awesome is that?
That was cool.
Like,
that was really
hey,
cool.
I'm gonna take this rocket launcher and shoot it at the vertibird. Take this.
Just the guy in the vertibird. Ah, crap.
Nah, damn. But yeah, Fallout 4. I'm just so excited for it. Oh, one more thing, and this is big. This is big. I keep saying one more thing, but there's just so much, right? Mods coming to consoles.
Well, as far as Xbox One is confirmed,
right? I mean, I would think that well, who knows? From the conference, you know, they did say that it'd be coming to the Xbox One, but I can foresee it coming to the PS.
Which would be nice.
Yeah, it would be nice. But yeah, you know, Bethesda's just doing so many things right.
Yeah.
Good on you, Bethesda. Good on you.
Now I have to put in my one more thing, because being the lore seeker that I am, I just have to...
One more thing!
I just have to talk about story. And so they revealed a little bit, but enough to like have me speculating. So you have the beginning of the game, which is apparently going to be in the pre-war era, as you said, which is very cool. And but then what happens afterward is what I find very interesting. So in Fallout 3, you were like you became an outcast from your vault who had to run away from the chaos in there. In Fallout New Vegas, you were some courier that just run into a bunch of bad luck. But in this one, you actually seem to be a tragic character. Because, like, you were a father or a mother, depending on who you picked, who went into this Vault 111, to go in safely with your family from the nuclear fallout. And again, nothing was revealed on what happened inside the vault for story reasons, but the tragic thing that Todd Howard mentioned is you are the only survivor coming out of the vault. So obviously that ensues that your wife or husband and your child are very much dead. So it's just like you are coming out of this vault and either having seen the tragic deaths or just having come out of the fact that there's no one left but you. And that's just...
Or how about this? How about this? Instead of making it into a tragedy, how about you make it into this? And here's... I've seen the speculation. So Fallout 3, you're a child growing up, and then you eventually go chase after your father,
yes.
Correct? What if it's the other way around? What if your child managed to, because, you know, what I'm assuming, and this is the only possibility, or actually, no, not the only possibility, there's two possibilities. Either you're a clone of yourself, or you went to cryosleep, right? I'm leaning more towards that you just come out of cryosleep. But what if your child grew up, somehow managed to, maybe through some failure, which maybe included the rest of the vault, managed to come out of cryosleep, grow up, then leave the vault? You find out about this. You go try to find your son, or your daughter, or, you know, whoever.
That would make a lot of sense, because the way that they were presenting it in the trailer, like when they were talking about the whole character customization part, is because you can character customate both parents, even though you're going to only play as one.
Customize.
I'm sorry, but you can customize both parents, even though you're only going to play as one of them. But and that determines what your child will look like. And they seemed to put a strange amount of emphasis on that fact, despite it almost looks like that the child isn't going to survive, unless if what you say is true.
I would think Bethesda would throw that at you, because they're just that kind of company.
Yeah, but it does make it very interesting that the thought that if what you say is a possibility, that your kid did leave before you, like quite a few years before you woke up, and you can just go out there and find your kid who looks like a younger version of you.
Yeah, well, I think it would make more sense that I don't think you could probably put a baby into cryosleep and have it survive viably.
True, we still don't know if it's cryosleep, though. But, I mean, I get your point.
So, yeah, Fallout 4. So much excite. Cannot hold.
So, that's the Bethesda conference.
Right?
Shall we move on to Microsoft?
Yes.